Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Marriage Ministry Motherhood, the program where I, your host, Tamar V. Lawrence, sit down and just talk to you about things that I am positive affect your lives as women. Maybe not all, how many billions of you out there, but I'm positive that what I have to talk about within marriage, I've been married for this year will be 11 years. This year, May, and I know some of you are involved in ministry, or if not, I know you're like me, your family is your full-time ministry, and motherhood. And I've been a mama for the last I've been in full-time ministry as well, actually, outside of just my family, for 8 years, and I've been a mother for the last 4.5 years to a 15-year-old. So you can imagine how motherhood has been doing to me. But I'm going to answer a question today that, if you're like me, it probably have crossed your minds a couple of times. And the question is my child, or can I say specifically, is my adopted child just lazy, or do they have a learning disability? If you've ever asked that question, I ask that you'll stay tuned, as I'll share with you some ways of knowing if your child's just being lazy or if they have a learning disability. So things to look out for that, oh wait, ooh, I need to take my child to get tested. And even if it's not an adopted child, but it's somebody that you teach, or at Sabbath school or Sunday school, that you see, there's something going on here. Speak to the parent, so give them a little heads up so that they can get their child or their children looked at. And if you're like me, meaning you have an adopted child, you would have gotten a child with a whole new life before they would have met you. And of course, I'm not saying that your child was your grandma reincarnate or anything like that. Absolutely not. But when I say a child who's had an entire lifetime, I mean that it's a child who you would have adopted. Yeah? So, and if you're homeschool, or now during the pandemic, you have to basically do more with your child, and you're thinking, you're just being lazy, you can do better. Because for one, there are lots of parents who really don't know whether their child's just lazy or have a learning disability, because they've never had to teach their child. From that child was however months they've been off to the nursery, and then they were sent off to primary school, secondary school, so you really don't know. So now you're helping your child a bit more, and you're a bad child, you're lazy. No. Look out for these, and if you're seeing these things, then you'll start you need to really consider. And I ask that you like, comment, subscribe, so you can see more as we talk more about things that really truly affect our lives, especially as women. One of the first things you need to look out for, and I'm going to share today, I think 3 or 4 really profound things that you need to look out for. The first one is your child's inability to maneuver simple, and I have to put in quotes, because for those of us who were born, knowing exactly this is my right, that's my left, things just flowed for us. Yeah, but there are others, it didn't quite flow the same. Yeah, so you find that your child is struggling to tie their shoelaces, and your child makes a fuss each time they're told, tie your shoelaces. And even if it is to their favorite pair of trainers, but they make a fuss over it. You don't just grab the child, you're being disobedient, and become a Caribbean parent. Oi, what are you doing? Take a step back and wonder, why is my child, even though these are their favorite, they don't want to wreck them, why haven't they tied their laces? Yes, it could just be that they're lackadaisical, they're lazy, they can't be bothered, and they think that you can just go buy a new pair. That's totally different. What you can do is either become the parent and push, and then you see your child looping, fine, because mommy says I have to, so but then you see them loop, and you see them put in, and then they're not really sure which one to pull out, and then they get frustrated and leave it. No, stop and pay attention. You cannot get frustrated with them. Your child is a human being, and as humans, we naturally want to do things the right way. After a child reaches a certain age, they wanna be able to maneuver a bow. So when you see them not be able to do that, just look now, start paying attention to other things. When I was small, when I was about 3, 4, and apparently I used to stoop down to do things, and I'd get up and go, oh, my back. My parents used to laugh and go, ah, she's such an old woman, and joke, not realizing that I actually was having joint pains that almost killed me by the time I was 4 or 5 years old. Yeah. So there are times that we see things and we just call it whatever. We become doctors and we diagnose. And when our child's really struggling with something, another simple task could easily be your daughter cannot comb her hair. And you're like, but what's as simple as that? Especially if your daughter's like me and does not have afro hair. Your child has straight hair and you're wondering, why can't they just comb their hair themselves? I'll share with you, when I was still Miss Tamara and I was not yet mama to my child, and I would always have her for weekends way before I even thought of adopting her. I would keep her with me sometimes, and one time I was not able to be there. I had to attend to something in the village that I was a missionary in her village. And I was at her home and I was helping with something. And I'm like, I need to rush up because Layla's hair needs to be combed. And the auntie's like, no, miss, leave her alone. I'm sure she can comb her hair by now. She should learn. Look how long we're trying to teach her and she's not learning. She this, she this, da, da, da. Not realizing, not knowing myself as well, not knowing that it's because she really could not maneuver it. Can she comb her hair now? Yes. Perfectly? Not really. But she can comb her hair well enough to go out. Yeah. But then at 10, she just couldn't. Yeah, so if you see your child struggling with maneuvering, tying shoelaces, combing hair, just doing certain things, doing the buttons wrong constantly, stop and take a look. Yeah. And the second point, numbers are a struggle. When 32 and 23 looks the same more than once, way too often, there's something going on. And when 95 and 59 are the same thing, really, you need to stop and wonder. Then, they can't seem to get numbers in the right order all the time. So 123 can be 231 or 213 or 320, in whatever order, because what you'll find is that for them, once they look down, and our brains register. Sometimes it registers, well, not sometimes. When the eye sees something, it sees it the other way, but by the time it gets to the brain, it turns it. For some of these children, for your child with learning disability, it sometimes just does not turn it, or it doesn't happen quickly enough. So they just say what's there, and it has to be trained into them. While for us, it came so naturally, but for not everyone. So, and this isn't because your child is not paying attention. It's because, or not because they need glasses, not this time anyway. There generally is some kind of learning disability that's causing this. I know that what gets parents is the fact that it's not always consistent. So because there are times when they get the 123, yeah. When they call it 3 to 1, and often enough it'll come with some kind of behavioral problem, we tend to see it as lack of focus. But what we don't know is that situations trigger disability, especially if it's linked to a trauma. Yeah. Our job as loving parents is to always be the adult and to be on our guard and to find out what's wrong with our children. And I'll share with you another really quick one. In the summer, we did a farm, and our daughter loved going with my husband to the warehouse where you would offload everything and you would weigh it and find out, so you know how much you're going to get paid and all that kind of stuff. And she always wanted to go, and I'd say, I wanted her to stay at home and help. But my husband needs the help there, and both of us, my daughter and I, couldn't fit in a car because we'd pack everything in there. So I would tell her to go because I kind of get some alone time, and so. But I'd tell her, if you're not going to do anything, you can't go. She's like, yes, 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 I'll help, Mama, I'll help. But then one time, all of us were able to go. And because it was too much for our car, so we got a big van and we went in. So then I wanted to see how much of a help she was. So I got her to write the number, and it was 1,000 something, say 1,450. So I then got her to write the number, and then I wanted her to tell me the number. She wouldn't tell me the number. She started looking around at, the other 2 or 3 people who were there. I'm like, what number is this? And she looked and she says, 12 and 5. No, what number? And so then I thought, calm down. So I'm like, okay, remember, it's 4 numbers. And if they're 4 digits, then you know that one's 1,000, 100, tens, ones. And she called it all sorts. But she kept, so my husband left out, and the other person who was there left out, but she still would be like, she would hear them laughing, talking, and obviously she thought they were laughing at her. They weren't. But because of what has happened to her in the past, where she'd be laughed at, it had her so nervous. So this was me thinking, okay, I'm pushing, but I'm pushing in still telling her, wanting her to say it, and she just couldn't. So I left it as, that's it. You're not doing anything. You're not going to come back because it's too heavy for you to offload, and the least you can do is call the number. After about 10 minutes in there with her, trying to get her to say it and telling her in all the nice ways possible, and she just couldn't, and she gave up, and she accepted that she'd not be able to come back. We went outside, got in the car, we sat down, and she told me the number. She said, I know it, Mama. And I was like, no, you don't. She said, I know it. And I said, what is it? And she told me the exact number. I'm like, why didn't you say it in there? She said, I didn't know it when I was in there, but I know it now. And I could say nothing. But that's because she felt really pushed. She felt cornered. She felt she was being laughed at. She felt all of those things. So she was not able to say these 4 numbers until she got in the car. She was not seeing it anymore. It was not there. But of course, the brain registered it, and it needed some time to process it for her to tell me what it was. I could say nothing, and I never stopped her going again, because I have to understand my child's history and what causes stuff, and you have to do the same thing to know whether your child is just lazy or has a learning disability. And the third thing you need to look out for is confusion of letters of the alphabet. P can be a B or a Q or a D. Any one of those. And D can be the same. Those letters can all be the same. Yeah. Sometimes even a CH can be a CK, or a CK can be a CH, and stuff like that. And B and D definitely will be a struggle. And it takes a long time for those to be seen as different letters. It takes a super long time for it to become, and they still will even make mistakes. But it will be where they now know it a lot quicker, but it will take years. I'm not going to tell you it'll take a couple of days or weeks. It sometimes takes years. These can cause words that the brain has stored to become interchangeable, like them and then and they, because they've learned them. When they see the word they and they're trying to read fluently, they'll say then, or they'll say they. And if they're reading the King James Version of the Bible, they'll be saying thou and stuff like that. But it's because the brain does not process as quickly as the rest of us. Yeah. So, and words like how and who, almost the same. Yeah. Because they have the same letters. So for your child, they could possibly be the same. So let us not be ignorant and start beating on them or punishing them because they're lazy, when all they simply do is have a learning disability. And if this is happening, your child isn't lazy. Your child needs your help. Of course, this one also causes an intimidation of big words and sentences. Begin simply and build as your child learns. I know when my child is being lazy. I know that. And I know when it's just an inability to do it. It took some time for me to know this, to really learn her style so I can encourage her and be the parent. And I know when to say, no, I'm not going to tell you because I know that you know it. And funny enough, my child did not know anything about dyslexia, learning disability. And I remember when I sat down and I explained it to her. And I explained that that's why you struggle. And it made such a difference in her life because now she understands it's not because I'm dunce bat, as I was called for so long. It's not because any of those things. It's because, there's a problem and mama is going to help me to fix it. Because when I told her, I let her know that mama is going to help you to fix this. Yeah. So there are times when I can say, Baba, I know when you're struggling and I know when you're choosing. No, I'm not. Yes, you're choosing and you know it and you're gonna do it. But when you're ready, and until you're ready, I'm gonna go read this book, you know, and stuff like that. And she will get it. Yeah. So just look at the confusions for letters. Look at when they get intimidated because it's a long paragraph or sentence or whatever it is, and they just need your encouragement or they need you to step back, go read that book, and sometimes push them because you can't allow them to quit. And finally, that I have here is that your child's not able to determine time, space, distance, direction. You're saying turn left and they're going right, or vice versa. And don't say be back in 10 minutes because they really, really don't know when to, or, like, oh, that's too short. But then another time, oh, I'll be back in 10 minutes. That's long. It's because they really don't know. I started having to, like maybe students that I teach or my child, I'd say, be back when you see it getting dark. You have to sometimes use pointers or markers to get them to do it. And in trying to get them to understand the time, we have a clock at home and I really need to change that clock because of how the numbers are put in. The 6 looks like a 9. For me, it's not a problem because I know 6 is down here, even though it's written like that. But for her, no, it's a 9. And it's really hard for her to remember when she's struggling to tell the time anyway, to remember that it's not a 9, it's a 6. Yeah. So I have to know that and not get frustrated. I have to know that and know that my child's not lazy. My child has some kind of learning disability. So just look out for these 4 things that I've just shared. Inability to maneuver simple tasks. Numbers, when numbers are getting all muddled up. For confusion of alphabet letters or your child reading from the right to the left when that's not what they're really supposed to. And finally, for your child's inability to determine time, space, distance, and direction. These are some really, really big things that you need to look out for, even though they might be crowded by the behavior, which is just a mask, because children like these tend to put on a mask because they know how they're going to be treated out there in the world. So the last thing they want is for you to be treating them that way as well. Our job is to protect them and shelter them from that and to help them to grow. That's it for today. If this video has been helpful for you or useful in any way, if there's a school that you can share it with or a mom that you can share it with, I don't mind that. Share it anytime and come back because I have so much more to share on my journey in marriage, ministry, motherhood that I hope can be beneficial to you. And if you think that this one is, and you think there's more to come that will, just click that bell below so you can know when others have come in, and subscribe, like, and I wish you all the best. Until now, for now, I am Tamara V. Lawrence, and I'll be with you again next Sunday, same time, same place. Until then, bye.